In a world where consumers are demanding much larger screens on their smartphones, I think Samsung's being quite innovative in finding a way to reduce the size of that phone in your pockets. The Flip 3 display is a similar size to that of the iPhone 13 Pro Max, but the major difference is the amount of bulk that is created when you place it into your pocket. And just like with the iPhone 13 Pro Max, you get a lot of the same features in terms of the display performance. With this latest version from Samsung, we now have a 120Hz adaptive refresh rate and an OLED display that provides vibrant colors and great contrast performance. Other than saving space in your pocket, there are some huge advantages to the folding feature on this smartphone. It does protect and prevent the screen from becoming marked and scratched. Earlier this year, I did review every single iPhone 13, and even though they have an incredibly high specification of glass on the displays, every single one of them has been badly scratched. Furthermore, there's definitely a cool factor about having a smartphone that can flip like an old-fashioned phone from back in the day. I think Android phones at times can be underappreciated for all of the features that you get for the money you pay. Not only do you get Face ID like you would on an iPhone, but that is also combined with Touch ID, and is by far the fastest Touch ID I have ever used. Probably the biggest problem with this folding phone is the crease at the center of the screen. I'm not going to lie and say that this isn't a huge issue, because it's very noticeable, especially when you're frequently scrolling, either reading news articles or on social media. There are a few more problems you need to consider with having a hinge mechanism inside of a phone, and obviously that's durability. As we're all aware from phones of the past that were flip phones like this, after a few years of use, they will become incredibly loose. Although this time round Samsung have certified this for waterproof of up to, I think, about 2 meters for around 30 minutes, there is no dust-proof protection. So if you live in quite a sandy environment, this may not be the most ideal phone. I must admit, it has been a while since I've used an Android phone, and I think the operating system as a whole has developed quite a lot. There's now quite a lot of similarities that are shared with iOS, with swipe commands, widgets, and the way you can navigate and work between apps. Something that is incredibly cool with this phone is the multitasking options. Because there are two halves to the screen, you could place your phone on the desk and be watching a video at the top half of the phone, and then be scrolling on social media at the bottom. Also, when it comes to watching movies, this is probably one of the best smartphones that's optimized for this type of content. When you're watching movies that traditionally have black bars at the top and bottom of the screen, because this has a 22:9 aspect ratio, you get to see the entire movie full width without any black bars at all. This combined with the OLED HDR display, it's a very pleasant and enjoyable experience. However, it is not perfect, and when you're watching more traditional content like maybe a YouTube video, you have very significant black bars at both the left and right hand side of the screens. Unfortunately, the worst part of this phone is its battery life. Although it technically has a larger battery than that of a regular iPhone 13, its battery life performance is nowhere near as impressive. The first problem is that it's very slow at charging, and it doesn't have any fast charging capabilities. And once it is fully charged, it's quite inconsistent to predict how much time you will have. You can get anything as bad as 4 hours of battery, all the way up to something more like 7. And this is heavily dependent and dictated by how intense the tasks are that you're doing. Next, let's move on to the camera performance. Just like with the iPhone 13 mini and iPhone 13s, there is a dual camera design system. You have an ultra wide and also a wide. I think the camera performance is okay. It's more than good enough for just casually posting images onto social media, but I did find that they were a little bit over sharpened. What I did quite like though was this extra screen that's found on the exterior of the Samsung. In everyday use, this screen can be used for monitoring different widgets, such as your clock, notifications, changing music within Spotify, but it gets even cooler inside of the camera app, and you can use it as a preview monitor when you're trying to film yourself, although it still is not perfect. And when you're trying to capture a vertical picture, this exterior display is in a horizontal format, and when you're trying to capture a horizontal video, this display is then in a vertical format. So when you're trying to preview yourself, this display is always the wrong way around, and although it's not a huge problem, it is just a little bit irritating. If you want to learn why I think the iPhone 13 Pro Max is overrated, I highly recommend checking out this video next.